What up, everyone? DJ Nubis here with you on the Metal Tavern Radio podcast. Here with my special guest, Sci Fi Sentry,
How's it going, everyone?
Anthony Jordan. I don't know what the fuck he's doing, but
I know what he's doing.
Movie.
Gotcha, Manny. Okay, Mr. Tony the Dead,
Hello.
and of course the Big Bad Wolf himself. Thank you for being here, discussing one of my favorite movies of all time, The Brotherhood of the Wolf, released in 2001, directed by Christopher Gans. I'm going to break down just the main characters, not every character, of course. There's a lot of them in this, but obviously Samuel Le Bihan, who plays Grigory D. Franzak. Mark Dacascos is Manny. Jeremy Renier as Thomas D. Apter. Vincent Cassel is Jean Francois. Emily DeQuinn, I probably butchered hell that, as Marianne. The lovely Monica Bellucci as Sylvia. Jean-Francois Stevenson as Sardis. And unfortunately, Kevin's not here because he and I did a review for Cemetery Man not too long ago. And apparently, Francois Haji Lazaro, who appeared in it as Nagi, also is in this film. I just caught that the first time the other night. So very cool. The plot is, in 1764, something was stalking the mountains of central France, a beast that pounced on humans and animals with terrible ferocity. Indeed, the beast became so notorious that the King of France dispatched envoys to find out what was happening to kill the creature. By the end, the Beast of Gevaudan had killed over 100 people, and to this day, no one is entirely sure what it was, a wolf, a hyena, or something supernatural. The beast is a popular myth in France, albeit one rooted firmly in reality. Somewhat surprisingly is that little is known to the outside world, and perhaps incredibly, it has never been made into a movie until now. Real quick, backstory.
This is legit based from true events.
Yes. I first, in the age of, the early ages of the internet, there wasn't quite the information about finding out about stuff like movies and stuff. I mean, it was just very in its infancy. So at the time, I was still buying stuff like Fangoria in terms of magazines. And so it appeared in that as, they did a backstory and a behind the scenes about the movie. So I saw some stills like the girl in the puddle that, Franzak is actually examining and all that. So that was how I kind of found out about the movie and the stuff that was involved, like how they were describing that this was going to be a little bit of horror, a little bit of romance, a little bit of martial arts. It had brought a lot of different things in here. Of course, I was already familiar with Mark Dacascos, who plays Manny in this. And so that was kind of my introduction. And then I went out to the theaters upon release. And of course, I was in French, so it's subtitled. I still managed to get through it. I enjoyed the shit out of it so much that I could not wait for the DVD to get to release. And I did buy it upon its release. And of course, they dubbed it, which is good. That makes it helpful a little bit. So I'm going to start with you, Sentry. When is the first time that you heard about this film and even saw it?
I saw it, came out in 2001, so I just graduated from college, so I was still in my partying days. But I think one of my friends had, but I think it was later, not actual 2001, but I think it was like maybe 2002 that they showed it to us. We were kicking back after work, and he threw it on, and we got into it. We had our girlfriends with us, whatever, and. We were all drinking a lot. We were all drinking a lot too, man. So I didn't remember a whole bunch about it until I rewatched it like a few weeks ago. So, but yeah, it had to be 2002 when I first saw it, and it was when I first saw it, I was like, oh man, I kind of like that Victorian and Blue Blood style, aesthetic and genre that they had, back in the days and stuff. So. Yeah, that's when I first saw it, man. So but now that I rewatched it, oh, dude, Monica Bellucci's course is a plus. I'm a huge fan. I love her to death. But I forgot. I told myself, how the hell did I not remember how good this movie was? Right. So yeah. So,
Mr. Jordan, I know this movie was totally new to you because this is one of the reasons why you were popping in on this particular review. I've been waiting kind of here, your first impressions. We're going to get into a lot more of your thoughts going through the film, but yeah, tell me your first experience watching this.
Well, I watched it this past Sunday, and like I really didn't know what to expect. When you brought this up, I'm like, I'd like to get in on that because I'd never seen it. And I looked it up and I saw things that look like the game Bloodborne. So again, I didn't look up plot details, so I went into it not knowing what to expect. And I love that the story, the mystery it sets up, the twists and turns, and the fact that it has a very real historical backdrop and that Beast, like, it's one of those things too, like if you're a werewolf guy, like about that story because a lot of people believed it was a werewolf. And you saw I posted on my channel one of the best movies you've never seen. This film was a ride and I was along for it from start to finish.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the things that kind of drew me to it was also the idea that because they never really in Fangoria magazine, they didn't tell you the plot or the spoilers. Like you had to kind of like figure out, oh, there's this creature going around. I'm like, it's gotta be a werewolf. It's gotta be a werewolf. So Tony, how about you? What was your first experience with this film?
This was the first time I watched it. I watched it. I do remember.
Shocker there.
I don't own it. Smartass.
Oh, really? Because Anthony was betting that you probably got it somewhere in your shelves somewhere.
It's probably in the attic catching dust.
No, I never actually had bought this movie, but I do remember, like in 2001, I probably worked at Walmart, and I remember seeing like on the shelf like a thing for it. And I was like, oh, a werewolf movie. And I'm like, okay. And then I like kind of forgot about it, and then I've heard of. And then, like it, I hear the name here and there, and it never. I was like, I'm not interested in it. And then we're gonna do this, and I went into it thinking a werewolf movie, and it's so much more. And I was like, holy crap! And I actually finished watching it probably about 7:30 because I like split it up last night to tonight because it is a long movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess is it long? I don't know.
No,
It's like two. It's like 2 hours long.
Neko has like a love-hate relationship with this movie because she's like, I can't believe this is one of your favorite movies, and she's like, it's so long. But see, the funny thing is, her and I did a review for this for our audio podcast a couple of years ago, and through that version, now maybe she was just in a good mood. She's like, yeah, this is actually really fucking good. And I'm like, told you, bitch.
I don't.
But
recall that.
But she still thinks it's like massive too long. She's like, yeah, to just cut out like a half hour would be great. And I'm like, no, it's got to be there. You got to have it.
I kind of agree with you about that. Go
ahead, Sentry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say so Neko's she doesn't really like it, or she just.
Dude, she is very finicky about movies. Like some things she likes, and it shocks you that she likes it, and then there's other things she's like, nope. She detests Lord of the Rings. She
really
she does not like Conan the Barbarian.
What?
But she loves Predator 2. She loves Predator 2. You explain it to me. I don't know.
One?
She likes shitty things.
She likes one, but she likes 2 better than 1.
So do I.
Okay. Yeah. And that's fine, but I can't figure her out sometimes. I'm like, how do you not like Conan the Barbarian? It's not even that long.
Anthony's just trying to get points, bro. You're just trying to get points.
All right, Big Guy Wolf, your first experience with
So when I first heard of it, it was when I went onto your channel for the first time to talk about werewolves in general. And you asked me this question if I heard of Brotherhood of the Wolf, and I'm like, the what? And you explain more of the film, and I'm like, you know what? This sounds interesting, but never had time to try to do research and look it up. I watched the trailer and went, this looks interesting, but I'm like, is this a werewolf film or is this just like something different? So it wasn't until you decided you're going to do a review, and I'm like, you know what? I need to get in on this. And so I'm like, I got to watch it. So going in watching it, I mean, I enjoyed the film, even though it wasn't a werewolf film. It was still amazing just to watch. And again, like with Bloodborne, because I play a little bit of Bloodborne, not as much as Anthony probably has. I played a little bit to know that I'm like, okay, I can see that where From Soft probably got some inspirations for the game. Because I'm noticing, like, the main thing that came off to me is the outfit that Francois and Manny wore at the very beginning. I'm like, okay, I can see them kind of gain that inspiration because that's an outfit you get at the beginning of the game if you buy it. And so, but yeah, I mean, I was blown away. Like what Jedi Grand Fella said. Shout out to you, Walter, by the way, in one of the comments is that you wouldn't expect martial arts to be in a French movie, in a movie that's on the French Renaissance either.
Yeah, I do want to give a shout out to Brian Sanchez, Way Up Dude, Jake Hall, of course, Jedi Grand Val. Thank you for joining us today, tonight.
We're also
I do want to go over
streaming-
before we start.
We're also
Before we
streaming
start
this
breaking
on my
into the
channel,
movie
just so you know.
itself.
He mentioned that's the
Oh yeah.
So yeah, before we start breaking into the movie, I want to just go through a few of the trivia things that I found out about the film, which I thought was pretty interesting. One of the first things is Dacascos, like I did not even notice. He prepared by this role for he learning Indian culture, of course, as well as French. He didn't even know French going into the film, so
wow.
he taught himself and learned that. Also, one thing that because Sentry brings up Monica Bellucci a lot. I didn't realize during this time that her and Vincent Cassel were married. They were married during this time. I did not know that. And they had 2 kids. And let me tell you, her daughter, Deva, who's like around 20 now, looks like a splitting image of her.
Oh.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now, this also another interesting thing. Universal paid $2 million for the rights to distribute this film in America. I did not know that. They actually went out and paid for it, and it turned out to be the 6th highest grossing French film of all time in the States.
No way.
I believe it.
Yep.
Wow.
The creature.
It's that much of a gem, a hidden jewel.
Yeah.
Well, it's like it goes towards, like I said, it has that Victorian style, the French Renaissance and then the Revolution, and all of that.
Yeah.
So it's
And
just
based
as
on history.
yeah.
So also the creature that we see in the film is a cross between special effects and puppetry. So that's kind of cool too. And as Anthony Jordan and Big Bad Wolf and I were talking earlier, the bone sword that Jean-Francois uses, the whip part of it's actually inspired by the video game Soul Calibur, which I know Neko really likes. So I tried to challenge her. I was like, do you remember where that sword was from before? She's like, no. I said, Soul Calibur, it's one of your favorites. She's like, I forgot.
that sword, I was not expecting it to do that. I was like, whoa, that was awesome.
Yeah, as soon as
now I
I
want
kind
that
of
sword.
extended and he used it as a whip, I was like, what the hell?
Yeah,
You know,
it was like out of the fucking left field over here. I was doing for
the bone sword. The bone sword actually reminds me of what came out of the game.
God of War.
No, that one, but also what do you call it? Oh my god, I can't believe it. A Skyrim.
Oh,
Like Skyrim, the bone sword, but it's called a dragon bone sword. And right when I saw it,
the dragon. Oh yes,
dragon
that's
bone
one
sword.
of my favorite swords to craft in Skyrim.
But I wasn't even thinking that. I was just thinking Bloodborne, because all the weapons have like 2 forms, like a saw turning into a spear, a hammer with a sword in the handle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's start getting into the meat of the whole plot here. So basically, the movie starts off. You've got an older Marquis de Batcher, played by Jeremy Renier, who is actually retelling. He's getting ready. He's facing a revolution against himself as the leader of France at this point, or whatever territory he's in, and a province, I should say. And so, he's got the enemy at the gate here, basically trying to like lynch him to come out, but he's wants to finish his writing this story about the Beast of Gevaudan, his experiences with what happened at the time, and with Franzak and Manny and everybody. So much older, he's writing, so he's going to start recalling. He started to go through flashbacks of his time learning about the Beast of Gevaudan, and it starts telling how this creature appeared one day and actually only attacks like women and children. Like it does not. It fears man for some reason. It doesn't. We don't know why at this point. We just know that it tends to attack like prostitutes and lower level poor people. And so it's sort of like like one thing that Big Bad Wolf says, like you kind of go in thinking it might be a werewolf or some sort of supernatural creature because they never really show you anything until later on. So let's start with Tony. So go ahead and start taking us through the early parts of the film, just story wise and what's going on. Basically, I know it's where it starts, pretty much where.
Well, it starts with like, doesn't it, like you said about him with telling the story, and then like it shows like a girl running.
Yeah,
and she's being chased by something.
And then I think the king sends Franzak and Manny, and they're on horseback.
Yeah,
and they come across like this girl and this old man running away from these guys dressed up as women. It's one of the earlier fight scenes that we see in the film. And
is that what they're supposed to be dressed up as?
Yes. Yep. Their idea was, and you learn this later, is because the creature was only attacking women and children, they wanted to dress up as women to try to attack the beast, like to dupe it into like believing that they were women. Of course, they were ugly as shit, but yeah, that's the way that was going to go. So,
okay.
Yeah, go ahead if you remember.
They were running and they were gonna, I guess, kill them or something, and then like Manny and Francois, is how you say it, were showing up, and
Franzak's the other guy. Yeah,
Franzak. They I'm terrible at telling the story because there's so much to it, but like they basically like confront them about it, like why are you chasing them? Like, he's supposed to heal my horse. And he's like, well, did he? Yeah. Well, then you owe him. And then like, well, of course they want to fight. And Manny gets down and kicks the asses. And that was a great big surprise that Mark Dacascos, is that how you say it?
Dacascos, yeah.
Mark is in the movie. What is he in the Iron Chef?
Iron Chef, yes, he was. Yeah, good eye. Yep, Iron Chef. He's actually very good in that show too.
Double Dragon, John Wick 3. Lots of stuff. Only the Strong for those old schoolers.
Oh, Jedi. That's a low blow, bro. Low blow.
Only the Strong? That's not a bad one. Oh, and she likes Barbie.
No, that's Only the Strong kicks ass. That's a great movie.
That's what I thought you were talking about. I was like, what the hell? But
yeah.
You go on to the next person because like I remember, but like I'm terrible.
Well, let's go to Sentry. We'll just kind of go.
Okay, so yeah, we got Mark Dacascos, Manny, Native American, whooping ass with the staff, and hitting these wannabe first, I guess you could say, first style drag queens, and just pretty much just beating their ass and giving it like what Tony Adet was saying, giving the explanation, why are they attacking them, and then he healed my horse. Did he? Yeah, so okay, well there you go, get your payment, you're be on your way. And then Franzak and Manny, I think after that they go and talk with what was it?
Marquis, yeah, the one that's kind of waiting for him.
Yeah. But yeah, what I forgot to mention though, what I was gonna say is in the beginning of the film, right in the beginning, there's like a cliffside, and they say that they saw this girl, and this girl totally gets mangled by something, and that's in the way beginning. But I just wanted to throw it out there because I totally remember it right now. And then, but there was I'm pretty sure all you guys saw it, man. When the creature or whatever it is getting at her, just snapped her back by just yanking her and everything, and then put her back on the.
Yeah, it kind of reminiscent of Jaws a little bit. The opening scene of Jaws, she's.
Oh yeah.
One quick thing too for people that have never seen any of the deleted scenes from this film. The fight that Manny has at the beginning wasn't originally the only one. Like technically, Manny was going to fight these guys, whoop them up a little bit, and then he's supposed to turn to Franzak, and Franzak's supposed to come down and start doing his own damage. I'm glad they didn't put that in there because the fight scene that Franzak has later on in the film was shocking because I did not expect it like that. And I fucking love that aspect. I love that
Yeah, it would have probably
he's
spoiled
a
the
little bit more
surprise.
scaled back. You'd think that Manny's kind of like his own bodyguard or whatever, but
Yeah.
Franzak shows later on that he can hold his own, and that was like the great. I'm just glad they didn't put that in there because it doesn't really fit.
Yeah,
But yeah, go ahead, Sentry.
Yeah, it would have spoiled the surprise.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then they go to the house of the home of the Marquis, and they're getting settled in, and they give Manny the kind of look like, oh, what is who is he? And so, no, he's a native. They had never seen a Native American before, so they never saw an Indian before. And of course, Mark Dacascos ripped up. It's a early 2000s film, so he's in good shape. And then they start talking more, and they start giving the Marquis starts giving them the explanation on the Beast of what was it of
Gevaudan.
yeah, the Beast of Gevaudan, and then they even have a memoir, which is crazy. So they have the memoir and they give it to Franzek. Oh no, and then they tell him, okay, so this is what they know about the killings, about women and children, mostly paupers, homeless, beggars and stuff, and they said they've been hunting this animal for a while, and they said they've killed a bunch of wolves around the area, but the deaths and the fatalities continue to happen. And then they just say, well, what are you going to do about it? Well, I'll do your, I'll do see what I can do, and try to get it out of the way. And yeah, man. So the opening to that point, that part is good because it does kind of drag a little bit. But what I like about the film though is that it'll have its this low flame moments, and then it picks up on the other moments, and then it has the ones that drag a little bit, and then but it's good to start off with, and then I'll just put it at. And now we're at the point where they're settling in. They're falling. They're gonna sleep on here, sleep on there. Should Manny should Manny be taken to the servants' quarters?
Servants'
like no,
quarters.
he's
He'll
gonna sleep
stay
in
here. Yeah.
He's gonna sleep in. And that's a crazy part that you see the bond already that Franzek, who's French, has such a bond with Manny. And that's how you can see how they trust each other with their lives. And he said he fought with him. You said he fought with him over there. I think it was in the American, against the British.
He said that Manny saved his life at some point over there.
Yeah. So and that's what I like about it. They keep the aspects to what happened, and all that stuff, and what happened between the United States and try to get invaded by the United, what do you call it, Great Britain and all that stuff. But it was but I like that they put that in there. And then they go, and then after that, what is it? They have dinner.
Yeah, so they go to meet these elite, big family. These are kind of the people that kind of run
society.
Yeah, exactly. And so they're the ones kind of just their influence is very heavy in the city. And so we'll try to pronounce the last name here. It's the Magna. What the fuck are they called?
I can't say any of the words.
Morgaius, something like that. But basically, you have Jean-Francois and Marianne, their brother and sister, and then you have these parents and these other people that are part of this elite club. And so they're obviously talking to Franzak and Marquis, and they're explaining oh, are you going to be able to find this creature? And there's kind of a neat little scene where Franzak comes into this as a doubter that it's supernatural creature. He doesn't really believe in it. So what he does is at dinner, he says, yeah, I've caught this trout that has black fur. Yeah. And so he starts passing it around because he's a taxidermist, Franzak is. And so he's showing it to everybody, and they're like, oh, it's amazing. And Jean-Francois, who, he's not buying it. He's like, this is bullshit. This ain't real.
And he was like,
yeah. And of course, everyone else is kind of don't be a dick. But Franzak's like, no, he's right. It's fake. I was using you all kind of a little joke to show you that you don't believe everything that you're told or see. It's not always what you think it is. Yeah. That was the whole point, to be deceptive. So it is kind of funny because these are super religious people. They don't really take jokes well, and they're very high strung. We find out later exactly why. But so Jean-Francois is, of course, he's a hunter, and he hurt himself in Africa where he can't use his right arm, so he's only got his left arm to work with. But at the same time, Franzak becomes kind of fascinated and infatuated with Marianne, who's his sister, and she's currently trying to be wooed by this poet who's really fucking hilarious. But anyway, Big Bad Wolf, why don't you pick it up?
Well, let's go and try to pick it off to before the dinner when he actually tries to root over Marianne because he sees Marianne walk off somewhere, like outside, and Marquis goes, she's right there if you want to go find her. I know where she is. He walks out, and there's this poet that's like talking smooth to her, and he goes, maybe it'd be best for it to. He goes, oh, I got this. And he goes, yo, the queen would be interested if you were to make some sort of poetry about her. So she goes, really? The queen goes, yeah, the queen wants you to make a poet about her. He goes, oh my gosh, that's awesome, and runs off to go do something. And then he just starts brewing over Marianne, which I forget the concept, but like she pretty much calls him out like, did you literally just lure him away just so you can have time with me? And he was like,
yeah, Franzak's pretty clever with that. He has no shame.
And what's funny is later on, he goes, yo, the queen was my inspiration to this poetry. And he goes, can I say it? Like, fine, go ahead. He absolutely butchers it. Mm-hmm. And it was like about the beast. And it was like how the beast reminds him of the queen. And I'm like, oh no, bro. Like, you fucked up.
Yeah, I know. And I just thought of it right now. Did he say that? He's like, he just did it like right on the spot. I'm surprised they didn't like say, get him out of here.
I'm surprised they didn't order his execution after that.
Right.
Because in those times, they would have had him executed because they would have taken it as an insult by comparing the queen to the beast. Well, then, I think if I remember correctly, they went to their living quarters to prepare for the hunt the next day.
Yeah, so why don't you pick it up with the hunt? This is basically where we see the next like fight because they're getting ready to go hunt wolves. The idea is there's like this rogue wolf running around killing people, so that's their belief system. So they've got everyone's getting ready to hunt. There's like actually this subset of hunters that live in this like certain lodge or something somewhere in the middle of the space, but we'll get to that later on as well. But yeah, they're all preparing for the hunt, so go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so they're preparing for the hunt, and I think at one point the woman earlier that had a seizure, it was like we see that she's causing trouble by she was literally kissing all these men that are around her. They're all kissing her. Like it looked like a very weird and nasty brothel going on.
She's trouble with a capital T, no doubt about it.
Like you could tell, like she was going to be trouble later on during the film. It seemed like no matter what was going on with her, there was just something screwy going on. And so Manny kind of looks as he's thinking, "Is this woman coming on? What the heck is going on?" Those men.
Well, there's also the belief that she's like some sort of witch, which is obviously untrue. But the way that they play, like Manny is so mesmerized by her because that's sort of his attraction to her, I guess. And so they kind of play off of that. But yeah, the father, who's the older man that was with her, he's kind of like, she's not a witch. She's not, this and this and this. She's having like a seizure. Yeah.
And so like she's kissing these men. So the men take it the wrong way when Manny looks at them. And they're like, okay, we're going to beat this guy up just because. And so Manny's over stuck in this 1v5 fight where he's literally fighting them all at once. Everyone's using blades and axes. And he's still kicking their asses. And as he gets done kicking...
All wannabe Wolverines.
Yep. Yeah. As he gets done kicking their asses, all of a sudden the women come up on a turn. And he's looking at Francois like, what the heck? And Francois like, I was literally
give a quick look at Jean-Francois, just so people kind of know. That's Vincent Cassel there playing that.
He's such a good
Marianne. This girl, man, just is gorgeous. Yeah. Beautiful woman.
Dude, you know what?
Yeah, she's gorgeous, but the dubbing didn't match her beauty.
See, but you know what? She kind of looked bro. Like when I saw it, when I resaw it, I was like, man, she looks young. I'm like, I'm like,
Yeah.
is she even 17 yet? And I'm like, fuck. I'm like,
Yeah, I was gonna say
really?
she's probably like more like 19. If you think of like the time period, she probably was very young. Like, but
Yeah.
that's kind of weird too because they're all like what was it? Mark, he was like, yeah, good luck, man. A lot of guys are trying to be her suitor. It's just not working out for them very well.
Well, they don't really they don't show her naked or anything either, so maybe she is
No,
actually
no.
younger.
But the
She might
funny thing
actually be
too
younger.
is after I think it was after he gets done beating the crap out of the women. I think Francois shows up and fires a warning shot like, "Hey, get off now!" Like to get them to leave him alone. And so that's when we have an interesting dialogue between Francois and
Franzak, yeah.
Franzak, and they talk about the pistol he uses, and he said, "I got this gifted when I was in the Navy." And he mentioned like he did tours in Africa and all that. And then he mentions he has specialized silver bullets. I want to mention that now because it becomes an important plot detail later on down the road.
Which Franzak's like, what are you hunting werewolves? So again, we're bringing up the werewolf aspect.
Yep.
You know?
Because they thought it could have been a werewolf.
He says
Francois is like kind of like, I just like to mark my shot. That's what he basically calls it.
Yeah, and so the thing too is once that happens, the wolf hunt begins, and this was the part that made me sick to my stomach because I couldn't stand just to watch like because it reminds me of what happened here in America back in the 1900s, where people like, oh, predators are the issue to the ecosystem. We got to kill the predators to help with conservation. But it was when the wolf population died down that they're like, oh, it's not the predators that's the issue. The predators help keep the ecosystem in check. And so we need to help bring these predators back. So to see that just let me sick to my stomach. Because I'm like, they literally cause so much issue with that. They're causing so much issue with that environment. And so
I gotta put it out there too during the hunt. Like I'm with Manny. Like it was very frustrating to watch them hunt all those wolves. I was so pissed.
Yeah, I was ticked.
It's not.
And then when it happened, my favorite part was when I swear that I knew that wolf was going to play an important role throughout the entire movie. That wolf showed up, and Manny, you could tell Manny had some kind of spiritual connection with that wolf. He could tell it's like that wolf was trying to tell him something, trying to give him a clue. And as Marianne went to try to shoot the wolf, Franz like went, "What are you doing?" And Mish goes, She goes, "What the heck were you thinking?" And Manny just goes,
"Yeah, it should be noted that Franzak had already investigated a body from a woman that was killed, and it basically looking at the jaw size, like it's a very large wolf. So it's something that plays on later on.
When he pulled out like a metal tooth, or was that later on?
That was later.
Okay, that was later on. But yeah, it was at that point he knew like, okay, this is not some ordinary wolf we're dealing with.
Right.
Because they're like, how do you know? It's like because the bite and the claw marks from the
jaws.
Yep, the bite and the claw marks.
Jaws.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. It looked like it was inspiration from Jaws because there was that moment where the doctor went, "There's no way a tiger shark did this." I pulled out a tooth the size of a shot glass.
The bite radius.
Yeah, it was like the bite radius is too big, and I pulled out a tooth the size of a shot glass.
And he even said that when he did the measurements and did the little investigation, he says that this wolf or this beast must be at least 500 pounds.
Which is way bigger than any ordinary wolf, because most wolves reach up to like 150 to 200 at max if lucky.
All right, so we're going to move to Anthony now. And Anthony, I want you to we're going to have you start where Franzak basically is going to start staying at the brothel. And this is where we are introduced to, of course, Monica Bellucci's character, Sylvia.
Oh my God, I love you.
Yeah, I pretty much.
And then when you get there, I want you to go ahead and start talking about the two children that are attacked. So go ahead.
Oh, should I
start with the brothel? Yeah, because that's basically where we're introduced to Sylvia.
So we're skipping the totem part.
If you want to mention it, you can.
Yeah,
I mean,
go ahead and mention it.
Super
important,
but you did make an interesting point about John Francois. So go ahead.
Do it.
I'll mention that, like, after the hunt, like, we have this scene where they're talking and there's like this casual racism towards Manny that he just doesn't let get to him. And I gotta say, one of the things I love about Manny most is he's the saying the most dangerous man in the room is the most quiet man in the room.
Yeah.
But they start talking about his culture and totem animals, and he does grab people's hands, and he like tells the one guy, "You're a stag." Mark, he says serpent, and you see like some cultural differences, and he's like, "Oh, no, in his culture, a serpent means very wise." And Jean Francois comes up to him, and he puts his hand out, and Manny, you can tell, doesn't even want to touch him, where the other people, even though they were hateful towards him, he was still willing to be civil and do it. But it's like he sensed something in Jean Francois, and he's like, "I'm not touching you."
Yeah.
And then they get taken to the brothel, and this is where we meet Monica Bellucci, who we very quickly become aware that there is a lot more going on with this character than we think, because just little things she says just implies she knows more about what's going on than she's willing to see. We even have an interesting scene where some of the women in the brothel don't want Manny because of his tattoos, and the keeper is like,
"You really a sorcerer?" I love how he just like moves away his towel.
"Yeah, we go."
And he's drinking, like he's looking at the thing. He's looking at the glass like that, and he's on the bed and everything, and even the girl, like I said, what was it? What is it? The mistress? I get the main mistress says, "Okay, I'll charge extra. Who's gonna sleep with him? Who's gonna do him?" And then
Who's gonna sleep with the Indian? Come on.
yeah, and then she's like, and she goes, I look at it, I like him. And then she
I
just
like the tattoo.
He's like, okay, here you go. You're with him.
Okay, sorry, Anthony. I just had to mention that part, man.
I just love how chill Manny is. That he's just, to him, it's like, okay, no one wants me, no big deal. I get most dangerous.
I'm just the last of my kind, nothing to worry about.
He's like, like I said, most dangerous man in the room is the most quiet man in the room. And then we have the scene with the kids where they go look for them and they find another body. And I think this is where he finds like a metal tooth.
Yes, that's when he finds the metal tooth.
Which, again, I love how this film builds mystery. You get a metal tooth and it hits the first sign that this may not be supernatural, but how could a natural creature have a metal tooth? And Manny's looking too in Manny, as they're establishing, is the more wise man that's in tune with nature. Through the animals, he finds one of the kids.
It's the wolf again. The wolf that big wolf brought up. Yeah. The wolf led him to him, yeah.
The wolf, and then he looks through the hole and he sees the rabbits, and past the rabbits are the kids, and he has this like bracelet thing, which I want to say now at this point, I thought Brotherhood of the Wolf was referring to these two characters.
Me too.
And like he has like some medicine in it, and they're able to get some information out of the kid. And again, like what you mentioned, Neko said that this movie is too long. Like there is a small part of me that agrees with it, but this film just takes its time establishing things, foreshadowing things that you really needed that runtime to sell this movie. And it's like, it doesn't feel boring, especially on a first watch. You're always engaged because every scene, whether you know it or not, you're getting more information, more pieces to the puzzle.
And that's always the thing that's always like, whenever she brings that up, I'm like, okay, so if you were to cut out some of this, how would you do it and why and where? And then I say to myself, well, this movie, the whole purpose of the movie is to use misdirection, because the idea is by the time we get to the end of it, we know where the twists are now. We know like there's a twist. We know why it's happening, who it involves, and that's what you're waiting for. So like the setup, as you said, that's what it's all leading to. So you kind of have to kind of gut through it a little bit, but I don't think you can really take anything out without losing those pieces of information. I think those are all very important to the movie.
This is a movie that I can see someone saying I have to be in the right mindset to watch.
Tony.
I was gonna say too also that I like the character dynamic between Francek and Sylvia because like
Mhm.
I just wanted to add to that because like they get deep into a conversation and then she even says what is your life worth or what is it what's this and what is it you want you want happiness and this and that and I'm thinking damn this dude really loves her. This dude really loves this other girl or he's falling in love with her but then he's with the other girl so I'm like okay it makes sense. When you gotta get your cork pop, you gotta get your cork pop. But
Pleasures of the flesh.
I looked
Yeah,
up
but,
the one actress we mentioned how old she was. The one that played Mary Ann. She would have been 20 in 2001.
20?
20.
Yeah, she
Okay.
was born in 1981.
All right, so yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, she's pretty young.
she just looked younger. I mean, I thought like in the maybe an 18, 20, 19, but I was
Well, they
like,
might have still they never mentioned it, but they might have still kind of implied that she's a very young girl.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you got to keep in mind back then life expectancies were a lot shorter, and by the time you were even 16, you were basically considered
Regular.
a
Damn.
full-on adult back then.
Oh, that is true.
well, I wanted to just add like I just wanted to add the dynamic between Francek and Sylvia, which I did, like even though it was very sporadic, but I did like how she has that just the presence that Monica Bellucci brings, dude. Not just because she's beautiful, but I mean, she went from being a model to a pretty decent, well-known actress. So
Yeah, she did a lot of French films. She has a big, long IMDb.
Yeah, so that's wanted to add that. Okay, go ahead, Anthony.
Well, I'm gonna add to this real quick. Is that so yeah, Manny ends up saving the young girl. The young kid brother is dead because he couldn't get away. So she was able to hide into a hole. But she was
It
kind of
sounds
dying
similar
from
to Aliens.
sort of Newt. But we also learned earlier from a witness that who gave like a description of the creature, and so this is where you kind of see the drawing where it looks like a really big wolf. So again, the werewolf aspect kind of comes into this and sneaks into the mindset of everybody and the viewer of the movie to like, okay, what are we dealing with here? Now the girl brings added information, and it's basically now we have someone who's actually with the creature in human form, even though it's pretty scary looking, that's sort of controlling this creature. So that's adding more to the mystique and the mystery of what's going on with the creature and its relation to the victims.
I'd like to add something. I think that guy's outfit, I have a feeling that was an inspiration to the main villain in Scooby-Doo Monsters Unleashed. Because especially the face looks very similar to the main villain.
Yeah, maybe. I don't remember that one, but go ahead, Anthony.
I pretty much said what I had.
Oh, okay. So
Anubis.
Anubis,
back to me.
Anubis, can I just say one thing about
Sure.
when they started showing images and when the girl started having her recollections on how the beast looked, I did like the style of the creature and how the back spikes would move and everything, like it looks like hair, and then the you can see the extra size of the added claws or the teeth, and
Yeah.
I didn't see it. I don't know if I remember, but there was no tail, right?
No, and I had to assume that, and we'll get into what it was later on, but we're assuming that it was probably clipped, like you do a dog or something.
Yeah, but that's all I wanted to add. Just I like the design. I like the way the design came out.
I want to. I kind of figured out a little bit of the movie when they showed that there was a man because we know the ending. I was like, I thought that was it. I don't want to. I'm trying not to say it without saying it, but did you
say you figured out who the man was? Is that what you're trying to say? Okay.
Yeah, I figured that, but I wasn't 100% sure about the beast. And then later on, like he said, it's like a whole bigger can of worms. So
right,
so that was nice. I was like, I'm glad I was right, but then it's like, holy crap.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, what ends up happening now is they keep trying to find the creature, and there's actually a point where I think I'm not make sure I'm not skipping around too much. There comes a point where somebody infiltrates the brothel, gets a picture of Sylvia that Franzak drew, because he draws a lot of people, and they drew a picture of Marianne and whatnot. Anyway, finds a picture of Sylvia, gives it to Marianne, and she's really pissed off, like that he's did banging this chick at the brothel, because he really does love Marianne, but again, pleasures of the flesh, yada yada yada. So between that, like he's Franzak's facing rejection from Marianne now, to where we get Lord Adi Budamarn, who's now come from the king with orders to get this tidied up and cut off. Like he's there telling Franzak, I'm going to go on a hunt. You're not going to join me. I'm going to put an end to this shit because you guys can't seem to catch this fucking thing. The one dude that was supposed to be handling it with his guys dressed as girlies can't find to catch it. They lay all these traps. Nothing happens. So he comes in, the Lord comes in, and he finally just kills like a standard wolf. And Franzak and Manny come down to his little work area for Franzak, and he says, look, do your thing. Make this thing look like a scary monster. We're going to sell this to the public, and we're going to just call it a day. Franzak's like, that's not the creature. Like, he's, and of course, Manny's pissed off because they're killing these, random fucking wolves still. And then when, unfortunately, through the order of the king, Franzak has no choice. He has to just do this. Like, otherwise, they'll probably arrest him or whatever. So as he's getting ready to go do his taxidermy on the creature, Manny's kind of disgusted, leaves. He's not super mad at Franzak, but he's not happy either. So in the end, like when Franzak's done, he creates this creature, which I didn't get a still of. I should have. It was pretty cool looking, actually.
Yeah, it was.
They painted it all black. It's got like a red stripe. It looks literally like an overgrown werewolf of some sort, like from American Wolf in London almost.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Yeah, so it's very cool looking, and this is what they were going to use to be like, this is your beast. Like, this is what's been killing people. We got it. And of course, Franzak knows it's not true, so he's just more upset about all this shit. So eventually, he goes back to the brothel. Spends more time with Sylvia, and Sylvia eventually goes to Marianne in the church at some point where she's at the candles, giving prayers or whatever they do there, confession. And she basically says, look, Franzak really loves you. If you let him go, you'll never get him back. Like, they want to send Franzak back to Paris, or he wants to go on a trip to Africa or somewhere because he's.
Yeah, I think the plan is they were going to send him to Africa after all that.
Yeah, because he wants to see the world, and he was trying to get Marianne to kind of go join.
And isn't it around the time too where she gives him the little tidbit about how women poison their husbands, and if they don't come back, they're going to have a very bad night, which is again
foreshadowing. Yep. So
anyways, I forgot to mention, we get to that point where we already got to that point where Sylvia and Franzak, it's like he's asleep, and then they look towards the mirror, and you see in the mirror, and you see you see a girl. Right, it's probably I thought it's Sylvia. She's just holding down that sword, that blade. That blade looks like it's going right into her eyes, and I was like, wow, like I did like that part that they used, because that's something I never really thought they would put in that film, and they did it, and it worked. Like, it looked really good when she starts going up and she starts bringing the knife up like that, and then he goes and like stabs it, and then he wakes up, and then he wakes up, looks over, and makes sure that it's Sylvia's asleep or whatever. But I was like,
it's really weird, because they even gave Sylvia a bit of a mystery about her for a while, where she's almost bewitching with the card use, and just the things she says. She's very dangerous, which we find out later why. But that was a cool scene. Like, I couldn't really figure out like what it was really supposed to represent. I don't know if it was just Franzak having a weird ass dream, or if he was on some sort of hallucinant drug. Because I know there's a point where Manny gives Marquis like the peyote or whatever it is,
Yeah.
knocks his ass straight the fuck out. I'm not feeling anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, as Anthony said, she kind of says about how, especially when brothels and stuff, that men that often cheat on their girls sometimes will come back, and the women make sure that their men don't ever leave again by poisoning them or whatever. So that's just so her way of like fucking around with Franzek. She likes to do that a lot. So,
and he was taking a drink too when she said that. So maybe he
right.
had that on his brain. That's why he dreamt that.
Yeah,
it
could be.
At this point in the movie, like, because she's so mysterious and like you first see her showing playing cards, and I thought maybe she actually was a witch of some sort or had something. I thought she was the White Wolf for a little while. I thought it was going to be revealed that she was animorph kind of thing.
That would have been kind of cool. Yeah, sure.
There is like a very this movie, as it's both natural, but there also is some stuff in this that you can't okay, there's also still light supernatural aspects happening.
Yeah, and I think I like the fact that they never really went there. I like the fact that they just toyed with the idea of the supernatural, but they never just went there. Like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So we have now, which is basically supposedly the wolf, the creature's been caught. However, that was mainly just to shut up the legend of the beast, but the killings were still going on. There were still women getting attacked. But just nobody was reporting on it.
And then around that time, that's when one of the higher ups, I don't get which one of the leaders it was, but of course Fonsack in the backyard, and he says the beast is dead. There'll be no talk of the beast anymore. It's done.
Yeah.
It's over with. Its history. But he gives him this orange book that has something to do with the beast. He gives him this orange book, unknown of what the author is or anything like that. Just no title. Just take this book.
It's basically a book sort of by the Brotherhood of the Wolf, and it's to undermine the king. It's the whole idea is to bring God back into overtake the king's policies or whatever.
It's an outlaw book.
Yeah.
And around that time, that's when they give him his orders hey, you're going to go overseas.
Yep. And so basically now Franzek's kind of packing. He's ready to go. Marquis ends up coming to him on the docks, and of course Manny's there. They have a hug, and he tells Franzek, he's like, look, we still need you to find this creature. And Franzek's like, dude, look, there's nothing I can do. The king doesn't want this anymore. And of course Franzek's still bumming about Marianne, but that's when Marquis like, well, what if I can convince you? With Marianne, he's like, yeah, right. So he gives a letter, and apparently Marianne had a change of heart. And this is kind of the cool moment again where he goes to this little village outside of the city at night. And this is one of the scariest scenes for me, just when he's on his horseback and he's walking in.
God, yeah.
Oh, there's that one where the creature's in the back when it's slowly walking.
That was
I love that.
Scary.
The horse
caught me off guard. I was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, you can see the horse is startled, but Fonzek's "There's nothing to be worried about. There's nothing out there." And it's but you can see it. But the funny thing is, you can hear the beast growling, but I think it's muffled by the howl of the winds.
Yeah. So he gets this little shack, and then Marianne's there secretly, so they can kiss and hug and all that stuff. And I don't even know who the two people are. There's probably just local villagers, but
no, I think they're they're her nannies or something.
Nanny, nanny.
It was her aunt and uncle or something like that.
It's your favorite movie, right?
Since
What's
you
that?
mentioned
It's your favorite movie, right?
Well, it is my favorite movie, but
You don't know who those people are?
He's talking shit on you, Anubis. Clap back, clap back.
So anyway, go on.
You just be quiet and sink further into your chair.
He's talking to Wolf now. So anyway, the uncle, I guess we'll call him, he goes down into the cellar to get some wine because they can celebrate a little bit. Leaves the fucking door open like a jackass. I would never do that anyway. Yeah. And he gets visited by the creature that decides to go down there with him. And this fight ensues. He kills the dude. blows through the top of the flooring. And me and Wolf were talking about earlier. Like, somehow Big Bad Wolf picked up on it pretty fast. I did not until it was actually explained later. But the creature's fighting around with Franzak and Marianne. Marianne's trying to get away. And the whole place is coming down. Like, it's just starting to catch fire and shit. And Franzak's got this pitchfork trying to distract it and fend it off. But the creature is focused in on Marianne. And it gets close, almost alien style. It gets close to her. And it doesn't do anything. Like, it just hesitates and stops. And so they all like, what the fuck? You know, what's going on here? And Franzak stabs it with the pitchfork. It breaks off, and the creature leaves. And that kind of leads us to the scene that I showed earlier.
Actually, what happened was, I think the handler had some kind of whistle similar to a dog whistle.
Oh, yeah, he whistled it.
Yeah, he did. He called it back.
He whistled to it.
So he pulls out the remaining part of the pitchfork. The creature, you know, yells in pain or whatever. But yeah, there was like a dog whistle. That's how he controls them and lets it do whatever it's doing. So let's go to Sentry. Go ahead and pick it up from there, sir.
Okay, so they go and Franzak goes towards Marianne and finds out, you know, is she okay or whatever. But Franzak got thrown through the part of the wall in that cabin. So it was like it's funny how you see Franzak going back and you just see his impact. You see him going back into that wall, and then you just see the wood break, like, you know, like the camera work and everything. And I was like, oh shit! I was like, that was crazy, man. And then the fact that that they already, you know, the beast left and then, you know, didn't attack Marianne, and then it got Franzak thinking right away. So okay, hold on. And then from there on, man, like, I think they Manny,
basically the next day they're gonna go hunt.
Yeah. Like Franzak tells Manny, and then I think the other guy, the Marquis decides to, oh man, you know what? I want to be a part of this. All right, and then they start showing the part where they're blowing up.
Pumpkins,
they're blowing up pumpkins.
They're like testing out all the weapons.
Yeah, and then Manny busts out with his badass tomahawk, and then he freaking throws it.
Those tomahawks reminded me of the tomahawk in Assassin's Creed 3 that Connor Kenway uses.
Oh.
I kind of like how they all kind of played off of their own strengths. It's almost like you would see, like, you know, an action movie where, like, you know, I'm solved. I got a machine gun or I got a Gatling gun or whatever. But, you know, Franzak's using like handheld guns, and then the Marquis gets out his crossbow, and he's like, whoosh. And Franzak's like, yeah, that might come in useful. And then, of course, he's like, well, what do you choose, Manny? And Manny's like, I don't like guns. I'm just going to use my.
Yeah,
my
he said, like, I don't like guns. They make too much noise, too much smoke, gives you away. I like the axe and the bow. They're silent.
He always has like this subtle sarcasm and fun. Manny does. I really like the character a lot.
Me too.
Yeah.
By the way, we haven't mentioned yet just how good the camera work is in this movie. But there are just a lot of interesting camera shots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then from there, they're, you know, showing off. They're showing off which one's bigger, which one's better. You know, typical men. And then they're just
they're just measuring dicks at that point.
Yeah, they're getting ready, and then, you know, the Marquis' father is like, you know, no, don't do this. You shouldn't go. And the Marquis like, don't worry about it, man. I'll be fine. You know, and then they go on their horses, and they kind of have an idea. Like I said,
it's where the boy died that they decide to make the trap.
Yeah, and then they make the trap. How did they lure it, man? I don't know what they do.
Manny like kind of was the bait.
Yeah, but doesn't it use like blood or something? I think, or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the thing was. I just remember Manny walking
out.
out.
The wolves that like herded it.
Yeah, that's right. The wolves. Yep, the pack of wolves. They pushed it to where they were. Yep.
Oh, I just thought that was just like a next scene. You know, like wolves cry. I must have missed that part.
They just they do that, and then they hear it, and then they kind of guide him towards there, and then they like, you know, he's following them, and he's all looking into that and doing, okay, what's this? And then he finds out, and then that's when he has that paint, right? He's got the paint on and everything, and then he goes and I don't know what he does, and then he finds what's going on in there. Yeah, he finds out what the hell's going on, and then he
That's a
sees
badass
the
look, by the way. I love that war paint. That is fucking sweet.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when
Especially on his left shoulder and pack.
that was a badass tattoo design, man. I was like shit. But
Mhm.
no, he finds an underground little cave, and then he finds and sees other dogs, other like I guess those dogs that are like that he used for prey or fighting or training, whatever, and then
Fire.
they start.
Well, hold on, real
You-
quick, because we did skip to where
Yeah.
like they were
Oh,
okay.
almost,
But
they
yeah,
were
we
also in the
skipped.
process of capturing the creature because like
Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
chasing
we skipped
Manny.
over
Okay,
that
yeah,
action
yeah.
sequence.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
traps and that.
okay, I lost. I lost. Sorry, I sped up a little bit.
It's okay. It
But,
happens to me all the time.
Yeah, but like what do you call it? But yeah, so they go to they get the beast. The beast takes the bait, right, and comes out and then attacks. They're trying to capture it. They try to capture it. They try to they have these traps that are set up, and then they're like they can't contain it, because it also has some kind of bone armor. It also has some kind of like bone armor, and then the steel, whatever, and it breaks through almost everything until I think Manny uses, I don't know if it was Franzek or Manny that set up that little deadfall thing.
It was Manny, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it was Manny. That looked a
Yeah,
lot
like I think at one point because they got it trapped with like this wooden cage that I knew was not going to hold it, and Marquis and Franzak were going to try to kill it right then and there, but he bursted out, took Marquis' arm, and was dragging him for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then Manny managed to like distract it, and that's when he kind of hit the rope, and it was like the whole like predator thing. He's got this big log with spikes that's falling down. He just barely gets below it before it hits the creature, basically injuring it a little bit. So it's on the run now, and that's when Manny separates from the rest because Franzak has to go make sure Marquis is okay. So now Manny's on his own. So yeah, go ahead, because you're leading right to the cavern.
Okay, yeah. So now they're going to the cavern, and then Manny's just that this is all there is just like lit up torches and stuff like that, and that's when they go to he's investigating, kind of like okay what the hell's going on, and he hears the dogs, and he checks the dogs lick him, whatever, and then the dogs start barking, and then bless you, then the sorry,
That was good timing.
I will say this. I've seen this movie about a gazillion times. The other night when
Really?
I watched it, I skipped through this entire part because it hurts me too fucking hard. I cannot watch it.
Oh,
Cannot watch it. So yeah, go ahead.
No,
This part hurt me so much too.
Yeah, and I understand why. The dogs bark. They're all of the same guys that were at that hunting meet. They go in there, and you could see on Manny's face. I was like, oh, okay, so this is way more than I thought. It's a lot more than what they were back at the hunters meet. And then they start getting into him. He hurts a lot of them pretty bad. I think he kills a few of them. And then but it's too much. There's too many of them. And then they start beating him up real bad. And then I think that's when he gets shot. Yeah, he gets shot right in the back. Right in the back, man.
He
He's
gets
distracted.
shot because he got distracted by the girl because the girl went up and tried to kill him. He backs her against the wall. Then he's like, "What the?" He realized it's her again. So he's mesmerized.
Power of pussy.
Yeah,
what
but
the fuck?
as soon as he got distracted, you heard that gunshot, and I'm just like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. That's how they get him down.
That's not what killed him. The pussy killed him.
It was beauty. It was beauty. It wasn't the planes that killed him. It was
403.
The beast.
See, but the thing is, like all of us, it hit me pretty bad, man. Like when he got shot, and then when they put him up,
talking like garbage. Ugh.
Yeah, they throw him. Yeah, dude, and they lift him up, and then they just throw him on the down that little cliff, not cliff, but like little down a little hill, and the way he was rolling down, and just like in there, I actually thought that he would still live, but
So
You know,
Yeah.
but when they threw him already, the way he was tumbling and everything, yeah, he's gone, he's done. And then that's when Franzek comes, looks for him, and then he does that part where he yells. He yells in the
I'm gonna take over here before I give it back to Anthony because this is my favorite part of the film, and I have to talk about it. And it kind of goes back to what I said about earlier with the rain fight. In the deleted scenes, Manny fights those guys for a little while, and then he kind of turns to Franzek, and then Franzek's like, "Sure, I'll go fight." And he gets off his horse and kicks some ass for a little while, but it doesn't make it's too long of a fight for one because it really goes on for a while. But then you don't really think that Franzek can fight much like Manny. You don't really see it. It's just kind of like you think he's like a good with guns and stuff, but this is where Franzek ends up finding Manny's body. He's like devastated. This is, Manny's the last of his kind, his best friend. It's like, fuck. And he is pissed. So he starts. Go ahead. What'd you say?
I was going to say, you should probably mention the autopsy part because that happens before he goes to fight him.
Well, that's sort of the key here because
he's getting there, yeah.
He's he takes his body and he's cleaning him up and he's he sees the hole, he takes it out, and sure enough, silver bullet. Now this is like a big ball, so this is what they were using back then, but it's silver and he knows exactly who shot the bullet. So he knows that he starts looking at the map. He sees like everything seems to point around this centerpiece, which he's asking somebody, what's here? What is this? He's like, oh, it's a hunting lodge. He's like, okay. The other guy's like, maybe you should get some rest. He's like, nope,
I'm not
gotta go.
Some rest.
Puts on some of his own war paint on his face, which is very cool. And this is where we get a glimpse where Franzek can really kick fucking ass, dude. He comes in shooting bows and arrows. He like lights up the horse stable to get it on fire. The hunters, he first sees the hunters are inside their little shack there, and the gypsy girl that's been causing issues is dancing and dodging blades that are being thrown at the wall, all cutesy like. And then one dude has Manny's bracelet, the healing bracelet. And so he's like, okay, I know what I got to do here. So starts just lighting the stables on fire. He starts killing a couple of guys, and then he's making his way around into the shack, the lodge itself. Again, Sentry brought it up about the animal attack in the house where he threw him into the wall, Franzek, and it was really cool effects. Well, one of my favorite scenes is when he's in the hallway and he stabs a dude and like kicks his head and he blasts him through the fucking wall. Like it was so fucking hilarious. I thought that was so cool. So yeah, he's just killing these hunters left and right. I mean, there's a lot of them. So he's just like waxing them. Then he gets to his room that's sort of like hidden behind this wall. And there's all this like almost voodoo-ish, like African animals stuff, skeletons of animals and stuff in there. It's really just kind of deplored looking. So he's kind of wandering around in there. Another hunter comes. He takes care of that dude and moves a curtain because he's got his little torch and he gets some air that's coming. He's got this curtain that's there, and that leads into another room where he has all those orange books you were talking about, the red books. And he sees the bone sword on the wall. Now, we don't really know what that's about at the moment, but we see it. And, of course, Gypsy Girl decides she's going to try to sneak up on him. He slaps her around. He should have just killed her right there and been done with it. But, she gets her just reward later. So, yeah, he ends up he doesn't really quite get everything he wants out of it, but he was so pissed off that he wanted to really just wreak havoc. And so, like, he ends up going back around dawn and he puts Manny on, like, almost like a
fire.
Like almost like a barbarian type thing. He's going to set him on fire to release his spirit and then collect his ashes. And at that point, he is approached first by Sardis, who's like the lead preacher guy of the religious faction of these elites that we've been talking about. He plays a massive part in this.
Well, there's a little thing too when he's running through to kick all their asses, and he bangs into like a box, and that's where you see all the red books fall out.
Yeah.
That was
so
so
it's like a big collection of the books. Yeah.
Could I also add Anubis to the part when he was literally obliterating these dudes, man? Like he he's a bigger guy, right? So the impacts he would do when he would just hit somebody was like bam, he would kill like with one hit, two hits, and then he was like an assassin, dude. Like he was just running through motherfuckers, bro. And I was like, shit, like damn, like this dude knows, like Manny must have trained him or some stuff like that, or he's a knight for a reason because he is a knight.
He definitely learned from Manny because it looks a lot like Manny's fighting style.
Yeah, I think, you know, because the thing that we didn't really too much touch on is at the time that he met Manny, they were, as he was of course in the military, and they were killing off all the Indians, like different Indian factions, and so at some point, I forget the details, but Manny ended up saving his life. So I think he was like kind of pushing against his own regiment doing this shit because they were killing people, like innocent people and people that weren't even fighting. So he was really having a hard time with that. And so I think that's sort of like his life lesson from the military is like, this is bullshit. This shouldn't be happening. So I do think that Manny kind of taught him some of this martial arts stuff. This is my impression anyway. They don't really touch on it, but I do think
he said he was supposed to teach Manny English. And then
he did do that, I think, or was
3 weeks later, he found him sliced in his commander's throat.
Yeah,
because he gave them the Native Americans blankets that had some kind of disease on them.
Killed him like very cowardly. Killed him,
yeah, and well.
Okay, sorry about that. Go ahead, Anubis.
Oh, you're good. So yeah, Sardis ends up coming up to him and it says, enough bloodshed's been happening. If you just leave the province now, we won't even worry about it. Like that's their way of trying to just get rid of Frontenac initially. But once he collects the ashes, he's visited by the authorities who are like, we're going to arrest you. And so he was going to try to talk back, but they knocked his ass out. So now, Anthony, please go from there.
Well, they basically arrest him and they're gonna hang him. And Monica Bellucci shows up again and she starts filling him in on what's really going on. And he's eating some food, and as he eats, he coughs, which my mind went back to her line about poisoning earlier. And she finishes and she's like, but now you know too much. And he keeps coughing and...
Yeah, she explains that she's like part of she was sent there on purpose to...
Yeah, she was sent by like the Holy See, I think.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, she was sent by the Vatican. I think it was the Vatican?
The Pope.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's right. It's called the Holy See, but she was like a spy for them, and she was sent there to check on Sardis, who's like apparently a problem.
I want to add to what we mentioned with the backstory about Manny and like the smallpox blankets. Back then, there were so-called rules for war, but those rules only counted if you were going against other civilized nations. So against tribal enemies like that, the rules went out the window.
Yeah.
But while this is going on, Marianne wants to see him. She finds out he's dead. And then we find out that Francois likes his sister a little too much.
Yeah.
I kind of got that vibe way early on, though.
Well, this is where we fully get it confirmed.
Well, you're missing. You're forgetting, though. You're forgetting. What's his name from Cemetery Man? That's where we first see him when he's in the cage.
Yeah, he's basically just the cook or something down there in the cells. Yeah.
Was I the only one that was pissed off that you thought that's how he dies? I thought this can't be the ending.
Yeah.
I thought that was a little weird. I can't remember my initial reaction because I have to say, like, it can't be the way it ends. It's really weird.
Something.
Yeah, when I saw that, I'm like, there's no way this is ending right then and there.
I kind of had an idea. I kind of had an idea once Sylvia said, spill the beans about, the Pope and, Vatican. I thought it was Vatican or whatever, but it's like the Pope. Well, Sardis is just a really big problem, and then. And the homeboy's freaking with the bald guy is freaking, eating the same shit that he brought to Manny and shit. And I was like, the motherfucker just goddamn, he
Same
can eat like
fucking character, Nagi. Same fucking guy. Same character.
yeah,
That was
dude.
nice.
And,
That was nice to see
yeah,
him.
yeah, but it was it's I kind of had an idea that she was involved in that kind of thing when he started like coughing and all that stuff, but not fully. But I just say, oh, he can't die right away. He's like, there's no way he can just die like that. And then he said, and then did they get to the part where they showed him, where they actually showed him?
Yeah. He was on a table. He had like
Yeah.
shit out of his mouth. And the one guy made a comment like, "Oh my god, he's starting to stink. Can we get him buried already or something?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do bury him.
Yeah, and they bury
Yeah.
him. That's where I was like, what?
But that's good because that again goes back to a lot of the misdirection this movie uses with all these different things that are going on because you don't know. Like they could have ended that movie right there and we'd all been pissed off. But like it's
Roll the
more
credits. Cue the
Yeah.
Seinfeld music.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead, Anthony.
How far do you want me to take it?
That's what she said.
Because we're pretty much
yeah, you know what, man? I mean, you can almost take it to where the final fight is. Like, I mean, if you want, because you can just go because they end up, digging him back up. And so
Sylvia even says,
you
"What
touched on the fact that John Francois really likes Marianne a lot, and if actually he ends up raping her, which was fucking bullshit. I want to just beat that dude's ass, but that becomes a thing. And so,
But I think you should reveal like his injury because that's when she realized he was lying.
Yeah, and you see he takes his coat off
Yeah.
and like
that's a big reveal there. Yeah,
girdle
that's a big
on
reveal.
and pulls out like this mangled arm with these really long, gnarly fingernails that we seen at the guy.
Yeah, it's like you can't even cut your fucking fingernails. What are you doing, man?
Honestly, yeah, right. I thought that too.
I mean, I wasn't. What I saw was did he have like was he possessed? Not possessed, but he got injured by an animal or a lion, and he just like had an infection, or he was dying from something.
His story
I think
was
he just
he
got
lost
scarred up
the
a lot.
arm.
I think it was just some massive like attack. Like,
Well,
and it's probably the creature that he ended up killing because he's like. He mentions like during that first like wolf hunt that like there's just some animals you can't tame very well or something, and he's like they don't go down easy. That's what his point was. So I think he might have tried to attack either a lion or whatever it was. Like, yeah, he did say it was a lion, so he was either trying to attack it with like a different type of gun or maybe a blade and thought he could do it. Like it just didn't work out very well.
I think he got attacked. I mean, he was attacked by a lion. But it didn't. He said it took his arm. That's why we think he has one arm. But I think it just mangled him, and then he ended up killing. I think he killed that lion. But then this is one of the cubs.
Yeah. So like he's just it's so mangled and ugly looking that I think he was embarrassed by it, so he always hid it, behind his thing.
He was like higher up. So
I mean, the dude was wearing a corset. I'm like, what else is he hiding? I'm like, okay, what else are you hiding, dude? Like you have a corset on, and then you have like mangled arm. But I'm like, was there something like I was thinking? Was there something kind of like Anthony mentioned, like supernatural about it? And was he possessed, or did he have an infection, or was it like the spirit of the lion, or the something like that? I was kind of thinking, okay, is this going in a direction where it's supernatural? The way he was dressed up, or was it, like I said, what was he hiding? But what was he hiding? You know what I mean?
It reminded you of me anyway, in Total Recall, where his name is Manny too, I think, in the movie, the cab driver, and he like, hey man, I'm like you, and then like his arms like all kind of crazy. The way he pulls it out, that's what that reminded me of. I honestly thought he was gonna pull up a really like kind of messed up hand, but like he could have cut the nails. Yeah. He could just wore long sleeves, gloves, and cut his nails.
Yeah, I think what happened was, this is just my theory. I just think that he was very self-conscious about this scarring. So when he started hiding it, I think that's sort of around the same time that this Brotherhood of the Wolf formed, and they were going to use this, like, because I think it was just Jean-Francois and Sardis who knew about his identity as the leader of the creature. Like, I don't think the rest of them knew. They knew he was part of the group, the religious sect.
They just didn't know who he was.
Yeah, they just didn't know he was the one leading this creature, and that's how Marianne found out too. When he was trying to like force himself on her.
Well, she found out when she went back and realized that the creature stopped in his tracks. She goes, that's why the beast stopped. It smelled your blood.
Yep.
Sorry,
Anthony. Go ahead.
That's
we all kind of jumped in there.
So anyway, they dig him up, which this is one of the ultimate misdirect, because this is even misdirecting the villains of the movie, and they pretty much turn him loose. So he goes in the war paint, and we find out like they basically want a chapter of the Brotherhood of the Wolf, if you will, in every province, and a beast in every province, so they can control with fear. And he just runs in and just starts like taking them out left and right. Like,
well, I like how he appeared, and he's kind of like on top of the stone. I think it's actually where the wolf first appeared with Manny when they were.
And he was like reciting. I forget which part of the Bible it was. I think it was from Exodus, maybe. And then as soon as
it was just so cool because, like, again, it brought in, as Sentry talked about, like this sort of supernatural, because they all thought he was dead, so they're thinking, oh my god, is he a fucking ghost? What the fuck's going on here?
And then that's when he goes, you Francois, and then that's when he takes off the mask and everything, and everyone that was following him was shocked.
Amen.
Yeah.
And then that's when that's why he took out the mask and went amen, and then he calls out the rest of the elites. That's when you find out that's why they were so keen to not agree with him. It's because they're all in on it too.
Yep.
And he got his chance to fight the two girls because he whipped their ass.
He did.
He was like, you thought he was like no prisoners in the fight before. He was really no prisoners this time.
Yeah, he was
that one dude with like the locks, who had his Manny's wrist thing, man. Like he like grabbed him by the legs and then like shoved the fucking sword through his neck. I was like, that's epic.
He was like Makarov from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. He was like, remember, no Russians.
So
what
yeah,
just happened? So anyway, like he's like a one-man army at this point, and then Sylvia's people come and start shooting up the aristocrats. They even corner them, and why this is going on, him and Francois have the fight. He takes the robe off, and you see him pull out the bone sword, and it's like a good fight because you have, I can't pronounce his name, but the main character, he's got short swords, and from Jean-Francois has the big sword, and that's when you find out it's also a whip, which ups the ante, and it's a short but sweet fight where he gets his throat cut, then just throws one of the swords into him, and there's even a scene where like he pays like the ultimate insult before that. I forgot about this, so I'll bring it up. And he scalps one of the brothers.
Oh yeah, he scalps his head as a way. It was
the same guy. He fucking got in the throat. He just went there and took off his scalp.
Yeah, as a way to avenge Manny, because that's what the Indians would. That's what the Americans would do to any of their enemies. They didn't.
Like, you see this? Not only am I going to kill all you, but I'm going to defile your corpses.
Oh, another thing too, we should point out was as they were fighting, Francois was like, how did you figure out it was me? He goes, you left the thing at the crime scene, as he was saying, like, I found Manny's body and I found a silver bullet. You left it at the crime scene.
Your signature.
Your signature was left at the crime scene.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Tony.
No, that's I just watched it an hour ago, so that's fresh.
Oh no, I'm saying thank you because I was trying to figure out what the quote was, but it was like you left your signature at the crime scene, referring to the silver. I think he shows him the silver bullet too, as to say, "I got the proof right here. I know it was you."
Yeah.
I'll leave it off here where he kills Francois and then lets the next guy take it off.
Well, it's Tony. You just saw it, so let's hear what you got to say.
He kills him, and
I mean, they're basically just rounding up the elites, and then
they're rounding up the elites.
Sylvia shows up, and
the girl from that dead gypsy girl was running, and what they weigh, and she comes up to this like you don't know who it is at first. It's like it's a mysterious looking person, and she just like in there, and then she just goes like this, and here it's a fan.
Yeah.
And if you it's Sylvia, and it has blades on it. That's why before I said katana wins. But like
Right, yeah.
she
I
slit
thought
her.
about saying spoiler alert.
Yeah. Then she's.
No, I mean this movie's old. I don't care what we spoil.
Oh
there.
yeah,
It doesn't matter.
did that, and we are spoiling the whole thing.
Yeah, I know.
Pretty much.
I was just
have.
gonna give him crap because he was mentioning that before we got to that part.
Oh.
That's good.
But yeah, she did that and cut her throat with it, and it was like unexpected. I kind of wish she would have.
Yeah,
kept
because I
her.
think the gypsy girl thought she could pull out her blade and get the drop on her, but
Yeah,
Sylvia was so quick with that blade, it was like she had no chance.
I'm glad she died, but I would have liked to have seen God.
Earlier.
No. Well, no. The other guy, the guy who's fighting with the guy with the fucked up arm.
Oh, John Francois. Yeah.
Yeah, him. I want to say his name wrong. I like. I wish he would have did it to Revenge Manny, instead of her. But it was still a cool kill because you didn't expect to have that blade.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it, bro.
I'm also
on my
channel.
I think that that would have been fine, but I don't think Franzak really knew how much of a part she played, because she was more of like just a distraction. She was the one that was kind of just instigating everything. So maybe if she was wearing Manny's wrist bracelet, maybe it would have been a different story. But because it was the hunter, that's who he was taking his vengeance out on for Manny.
Well,
it was
that
was the guy that he was sending the signal to. But
True.
I think the gypsy was just kind of the person that's supposed to piss you off throughout the entire film because she's the one that's kind of like poking the bear everywhere. And she kept getting away with it. So it's like, fuck.
I almost thought her and Manny were going to end up somewhere together, and she was going to go with him. But that
you might have thought early on she might have a change of heart and kind of go with him.
Right.
I always got the sense we mentioned how he's mesmerized by her.
Yeah.
I always got the sense he was mesmerized in the way someone would looking at a predator.
Now, I could see it that way.
Yeah,
I think a freak though. I'm sorry.
She was beautiful.
I will say, I think what we should mention earlier was like before the final battle. I think before he finally followed the hunters, he went back to where Manny got shot, and he goes through all the. No, that was when he was running through the cavern. He sees the torture chamber where they strung up Manny because he sees like his blood. He sees the cuffs, and he's imagining just that they literally tortured him before they threw him out. Like they didn't even put him out of his misery. They literally tortured him before.
I think that was the tail end of his invasion of the lodge when he was killing all the hunters. I think that's where he ended up at the last point of it. And then more of them were coming, so he had to run out and go do his other shit. But yeah, he kind of discovered where the den was for the creature, and they were using Rottweilers to aggravate the creature and fight it. And of course, the beast would kill him and all that jazz.
Yeah, they had kind of like their own underground fighting club for animals. They had cockfights before cockfights were invented.
Basically.
Yeah. But let's say she gets killed, and
I mean, can we say Sardi's got his just reward from the wolf pack?
Yeah, that Sardine was running.
Sardine, yes.
Through the what do they call that back then? The not a bog, I guess.
Marsh.
The marsh. Yeah. He was running through the marsh.
Swampy land.
They show the wolves like not far behind. They're chasing them.
That was a satisfying scene.
Yeah, I was like, nice, good for him, good. And then you don't see it, but they rip him apart.
Yeah, you hear
he gets the Brotherhood of the Wolf got the wolves kind of thing. Like but So what happens after that?
Well, basically, Sylvia comes to where the cops have rounded up the elites. They're going to
Oh, yeah.
arrest them. Not so high and mighty now, are you guys? Sylvia comes up. She stabs Jean Francois one more time in the heart while he's on the ground. He was already dead, which is interesting because his death scene, he kind of resorts back to moving his arm behind him like it was like something he had done for so long
Yeah.
that his involuntary body was to do that in death. So she talks to Franzok really quick and wants to invite him to join what she does because she likes his fighting and his spirit, and he hesitates. He's like, too late. And then she basically tells him like, you need to get the fuck out of Dodge because I have more
Before
power
she
than
changes
you.
her mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course as she's walking away, the cops are all showing her respect. They know who she is and all that stuff. So Franzak rushes back to the town where Marianne and all them are and finds out Marianne's very ill and dying. Like, she's very hurt. Marquis had met up with them, and so he gets there and she's in bed and she is dying. So he's kind of like, fuck, this is sucky. This is not the way this is supposed to end,
Yeah.
But he remembers he has Manny's health bracelet. So he starts using that in hopes that it does the job. And you never really know because it doesn't really tell you right away whether it worked or not. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we come right back to the Marquis as an older guy who's finishing up his story.
Can I finish up with that?
What's that?
Let's see, mind if I finish up with that?
Oh, go for it.
Yeah, so he finished up with his story, and as he's doing that, he's getting warned by his man like, hey, the revolutionaries are outside waiting for you. He's like, hey, Jan, I'm almost done. And he talks about how later on, him and Franzak tracked down the beast to its final resting place because they still had to kill it. I mean, when I was watching, I'm like, so are they going to kill the beast? I mean, the whole thing was for them to hunt it down and finally put it into it. But they found out.
It's an emotional scene because, like, even then, he shows the beast is already hurt from that fight with Manny and the big log that nailed it.
And so they find it at his den and they see the caretaker's just like upset because they're like, it's dying, its time is, it's suffering. And so they're taking a look at it, and it's revealed that the beast was some kind of animal that Francois got in Africa, because it turned out it had cubs, and he picked the strongest of the litter. And then he pretty much raised it with nothing but cruelty to make it the meanest monster on the planet, and gave it armor to protect it so nothing could kill it. And Franzak's just looking into the beast's eye. I mean, you could tell like he felt sorry for the animal because the animal didn't really get a chance to live a life. Yeah. It was literally forced to be cruel for no reason except Francois wanted a weapon, not a pet. And you look into its eye, and it reminds me of the story of a hunter that killed a wolf. And he says he watched the wolf take its last breath, look into its dying eye. He got more respect for the animal. And that's what that scene reminded me of, that particular short story. And Franzak you could tell he was definitely devastated to do it, but he pretty much pulls out his pistol and puts out of its misery. And we see the handler as well, just kind of like he's upset, but he's just glad that it's over. That animal can finally rest at peace.
The beast was the biggest victim of all.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we finally
get that fucking metal contraption, dude. I'm like, Jesus.
It's very interesting. And finally we go back to Marquis at the end, and he's like, it's been an honor serving with you all, Senator. They're like, are you sure you want to do this? But he goes like, no, I'm going to deal with him myself. And he walks out with all the revolutionaries, pitchforks, torches, you name it. Like, pretty much, they're pretty much bringing him to be executed or something. Mm-hmm. And his last monologue is, I never saw Franzak after that, but I sure hope he and Marianne have lived a good life. And you see just this glimpse of them on a boat heading to Africa. And he's like showing her how to hold up the flags and everything. She's like helping him out.
That he was invited to come to Africa, but he couldn't leave.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He didn't want to leave. He felt like
Then he's pouring Manny's ashes into the sea.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, he was pouring his ashes to the sea.
And the name of the boat in French was Brother Wolf, actually.
Oh,
What's
I
sad,
never noticed.
what's sad too is the French Revolution. Like they were beheading aristocracies left and right, good and bad, and like you can really tell that Marquis was one of the good ones, and
Yeah.
they're taking a man to be executed who was probably as good to them as he could be.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, because he's walking down that outside through them, and I'm like, he's not being belligerent, he's not fighting, he understands their anger, but I think at the same time it's kind of like you're sitting there watching this and you're kind of like, man, I wish the people would understand that he feels for them, but somewhere along the line he wasn't able to give them what they want. They just don't understand, and so they're just going to do what they're going to do, and he kind of accepted that.
Yeah, he kind of just like, I know. He's like, there's no reason for me to fight this. I'm just going to let them do what they want to do, because he's like, maybe if I allow them to do this, things would be better for this country.
Yeah.
And you could just tell he wished I think the last thing he goes, I hope to have seen Fonsac one last time.
Yeah.
And so it kind of makes it kind of sad, because he hoped to one day see his friend again, only to
Yeah,
never see his friend.
I mean, the funny thing about the film is that there's all these twists and turns throughout it where, you got loss, and then, you think someone's dead here or there. And then, of course, like in the end here, there's a part of you, it's like, man, I wish he could have saw Franzek at least one last time or whatever. And maybe they, because they were friends, but it's like, we have to understand that moment in history for Marquis was like long ago. Like he was much older by the time this was happening. So, Franzek had just moved on in his life. So it's really, you feel for it, but then like, you just kind of understand that just the way it was,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a
So
great.
Rotten Tomatoes, with no anger towards them really, even though I think they're massively low on this, but the score from the critics is 73% and the audience is 78%. Now, obviously, I think way differently, but let's go with final thoughts here. So let's start with Big Bad Wolf. Your final thoughts of Brotherhood of the Wolf.
So Brotherhood of the Wolf, it was not what I was expecting. I went into this thinking, because I knew it was going to be anything about werewolves, because at one point Anthony showed like a picture screenshot of the characters and then the monster in the movie. I'm like, so it's not going to be a werewolf, but I'm like, this is interesting to say the least. I'm like, so when I you guys doing the live stream, I'm like, I got to check this out because I want to join them on this since it's wolf themed. And I feel like it would have been disservice to me with me being Big Bad Wolf. I'm like, I got to watch this. This would be disservice to what I'm portraying. But
so that was the first time you'd seen it too?
Yeah, that was my first time seeing it. And so watching all the way through, I was pretty much hooked. I mean, when I was disappointed that Manny died, I'm like, that kind of showed how good the film was doing. Because I'm like, Manny better survive. And I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. And to see the entire thing, I love that Fonsac showed empathy towards the monster at the end. Mm-hmm. And I like that Marquis kind of respected that as well. And I liked how the wolf played a part. Like, I'm glad the wolf did not die in that entire film. And that wolf was a key role within that entire film. So my initial vein for this is the characters were great, especially, again, there were so many mysteries, twists, and turns. You didn't know exactly where this film was taking you. Like, at one point, like, this has to be supernatural. Like, okay, maybe it's something else. And you're just like, where's this taking us? And so the fact that it left everything in mystery, I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10. It was a very solid film. I was impressed. And what makes it more impressive is you and Sci-Fi went over the history, and I'm like, I did not think this was based on actual events, that there was like an actual beast causing issues back then. I thought that was just like a mythology, like, okay, here's a mythology of a beast we did in medieval times. Let's do this. I did not know that this legit actually happened.
Yeah, apparently too, the characters. Now, whether or not obviously it didn't, like, if I recall from what I read, all the characters are accurate except Manny. He was not existing at that time during that
They
period.
just kind of put him in there to try to add some kind of interesting plot twist.
Right. So that was sort of the part where they just kind of got more creative. But apparently, the history did show these are real people that existed during that time. Mr. Tony the Dead.
Well, like I said before, it was my first time seeing it. I'm glad I got to see it. I was not expecting it, and being that it was coming from you, I thought, of course, like werewolf, and being that this is like one of your favorite movies, and it's not even a werewolf, is pretty crazy, not in a bad way, just like shocking.
Right.
I'm like, wow, because it does have the supernatural to it, and then when he found that steel tooth, I thought, okay, this is something else, this isn't but I still was convinced that she was maybe somehow Sylvia was still maybe that wolf or something, like helping them out. But
A wolf in woman's clothing.
yeah, right. But yeah, it's I don't think they probably fought like that back then. I don't think there was any Native Americans that knew whatever martial arts. But I think that was really cool that they did that in the movie, because maybe if there wasn't such awesome fights, maybe it would be a little more boring,
Or maybe they could have went to a straight horror route.
Yeah,
Like if they did everything,
it would have been different. But I don't know if it really would have hurt it too much. I mean, the fighting's fun, obviously.
No, it adds to it. It adds to it.
But it's still a pretty strong story. I agree with you in some ways. Would have been near as good, because like that revenge scene at the lodge is like one of the best in the movie.
Once when Manny ran ahead on his own, I thought this isn't going to be good, because
I was thinking the same thing. As soon as he ran ahead into where the beast lives and where that entire hunting people are, I'm like, please don't kill this man right now. Please don't do this.
Yeah, like don't go in. Nothing ever good in a movie happens where somebody runs ahead.
Especially if it's like a dark cavern that you're just like, oh no.
It's like you're badass, but there's probably a ton of them in there, which was. But it was. I loved the way it looked. Like Anthony nailed it when he said Bloodborne-ish, like that. Like I love the look of the movie. It's dark. It has a little bit of comedy at times, but not like, laugh out loud kind of like, like a but yeah, it's very good. It's even watching it, because I didn't watch with subtitles, I watched the dubbed one. It didn't bother me once. Like, it almost looked like they were saying it sometimes. So it really didn't bother me. But yeah, so if you get a chance to see it, I'd say see it. But I guess my rating for this would be probably like 8 out of 10. I'd say that. Okay. I think I give it a point for not knowing, like we said about that this was real, like this was a history thing. That was really cool. I like to look into that more. But I know it's 2001, but I thought the CGI looked like shit when you first see the beast. And so I can excuse it a little bit, but it kind of like brings it down a little. But the practical parts of it that were cool. So yeah, I would say definitely check this one out. It's a long movie, but it does keep you, engaged. Engaged. There's a lot of names and a lot of people, and I knew who they were, but I could not tell you their friggin' names, half of them. But I knew what was going on, and I can't say any. I'm terrible at pronouncing names, but I'm glad I got to see this, and yeah,
awesome. Anthony Jordan.
First of all, thank you for introducing me to this movie. I was just blown away with it. Like, I love historical films and I love historical fiction. And when you add that to what this movie is, that it's a film that you really can't fit neatly into one genre. It's got horror, suspense, action, a little bit of romance. It's like crosses so many genre lines. It's just hard to say exactly where this film fits in just the way it tells the story.
It's kind of like Spoke Token.
Yeah. And it like gives you, it trickles you a little bits of information throughout, and yet constantly misdirects you so you don't know what's what. It skirts a line with supernatural elements where do they really exist or don't they, but it doesn't tell you one way or another. It's got amazing camera work, like the scene with the first victim we see of the beast and just what they do with the camera. Like, I'm kind of surprised this film didn't get if nothing else, didn't get any cinematography awards.
Mm-hmm.
You care about at least 3 of the main characters. And if I had to rate it like Tony of the Dead, I would probably go in 8 out of 10, maybe 8.5 out of 10. I can see why this is your favorite movie of all time, because it's just, there really ain't no other movie quite like this one.
Yeah. Sentry.
Man, like I'm glad that you just wanted to do the review, and then it just recapturing and rewatching it, man. It's like, wow, it was a lot of stuff that I had forgotten about. Monica Bellucci, and the fight scenes were great, well choreographed. Mark Dacascos was great. All the actors was great. The mystery, the Sherlock Holmes is trying to find out the mystery, and then the mysticism, the supernatural aspects, the horror aspects, and the bringing in even the other cultures and everything like that, and then the French Revolution and all that. So yeah, dude. I mean, when it had been that long, so I had forgotten a lot about it. So, but then once I watched it, I think I saw it like 3 more times after I saw it, because I was just really intrigued by it. And it's not a type of movie that you can really just like that they would just make here in the States. You can tell it's a foreign movie. So that's what I liked about it. And then the fact, like, I caught on probably like 15 minutes in that it was subtitles. Like, oh my god, it's subtitled. So I'm like, because when I bought the DVD, for like freaking $7, and I said, nah, I gotta have this copy. I'm like, I just, why not? $7. I mean, I'm what am I? If Anubis likes it, then yeah. I mean, I watched it. And I was like, wow, I was very. It does, like, keep you engaged, and it does suck you in, and you're always thinking about, okay, who's this, who's that, and not only Monica Bellucci's beauty, but the fact that she really did make a good point, and did, like, as far as her acting, and she nailed the part.
Get it out of your system, Sentry. Just get it out. Come on.
Yeah, she's beautiful. She's sexy. I don't care how old she is, but yeah,
She's caked up.
Yeah, but overall, it's a great film, man. To rediscover and watch, and get that nostalgia feeling from 2001, and yeah, man, I would give it about an 8. I would have got about an 8, man. There's some things that just kind of the lagging parts, but there's not too many. But
yeah,
like,
it's obviously a long film, like as Tony brought up, and it's long, but I think for me it's important to have those scenes in there, because I don't think you could really edit it to a point that would make any sense, because I think everything kind of ties in with one another. So you have, as Tony again would say, you have to be in the mood, just sit there and just kind of go through the grind, sort of. But the payoff is so good that you're like, okay, I get it,
I say it's
me,
long, but then my favorite movie is, like, one of my favorite movies is Watchmen.
Yeah, I love Watchmen too. Like, yeah, again, and
over
Neko,
3 hours.
but see, Neko likes that film.
That's a good film, man. The Watchmen is a good freaking film. Sci Fi Sentry. Yeah,
especially the ultimate cut.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
God.
what she's told me before. She's like, "Oh, we're gonna watch the ultimate cut." Like, "Oh, can you handle the ultimate cut?" Sure.
I don't think you can. I don't think anybody can.
But
It can't be
yeah,
worse
man,
than-
like, go ahead.
Well, it can't be as long as the Lord of the Rings director's cut for all
No.
3 films.
Neko doesn't like
That's
that.
how I watched them
She doesn't
too.
even like the edited cut. So,
Anyway, sorry.
but for me, man, like this film and The Crow, the original, not the remake. So let's just be clear, are two of my favorite. I always kind of lean more to The Crow as like a little bit over Brotherhood just because of a little bit more sentimental reasons. But this film has always stood with me just like The Crow has. Like nothing's ever beaten. I have a lot of films that I really like, war films or horror films or even action films and martial art films. But these two just always are there. And even if I try to do like a top 10 werewolf movie list, I try to keep this one off because it doesn't really deal with werewolves, but at the same time, because it does fuck around with the idea that there's one there, it's like part of the mystique. I would say that, oh yeah, because there's, if you've ever seen The Wolf of Snow Hollow, it does the same kind of thing. It plays around with the idea that we have a werewolf, but there really isn't one, but it's really good. So I don't mind throwing in films that really don't have werewolves into the werewolf list, but I wouldn't say that I would put them near the top just because of those reasons.
Yes, it's not really a werewolf. It's not really
Right.
a werewolf film when there is no werewolf.
Right.
It just kind of teases you into thinking there's one.
Right. And that's a cool concept. I kind of like the concept behind that. So still a 10 out of 10 for me. Maybe I don't get as burned out because I don't watch it super as often because you do have to be in the mindset to just kind of sit down and go through that grind a little bit.
Yeah.
But as it's stylized as Anthony was getting to, it's very nice. It's shot well. The CGI doesn't bother me as bad as it did maybe Tony. Like you can tell it's there, the bad stuff. But for the time, I think it still works out pretty well.
They
It's pretty
don't linger on it long enough for it to be that big of an issue.
Yeah.
I will say, like, when you first see the beast and you didn't know it was a living animal inside that armor, you'll think the first thing I'm thinking is, how in the heck did they manage to make a mechanical contraption of a beast? And how are they operating it? What's it running on? What fuel is it requiring? Which made you think it could be supernatural, because it's kind of like with golems, how they always run on these supernatural things that allows them to be empowered. So you're just wondering, how are they running this thing if it is a machine?
right. Yeah, I was trying to figure out because I just now thought about it. One of the girls that was killed at the beginning, I think it's actually the very first one. And I'm just kind of looking through now to see if I can confirm anything. But are you guys familiar with the actress Patsy Kensit?
Never heard of her.
I'm terrible with names.
Yeah, so she was in a movie in the 90s with Mario Van Peebles called Full Eclipse, another werewolf movie with Bruce Payne as well. Anyway, I think she was La Femme Nikita for a while in a show. But anyway, she looks a lot like the girl at the beginning, but I never find her in the credits. So I don't know if anyone can confirm if that's her or not. She just looks a lot like her. But that was just a side thing. So anyway, all right. So let's just go through a quick. Sentry, you got anything coming up, sir, that people should be aware of?
As a matter of fact, not yet. Gotta adjust to my new bed and gotta catch up on my sleep. But if I do have anything coming up, it's Pitch Black Sci Fi Society podcast, and again, one of my favorite movies. And then I'm trying to catch up with everybody with the one-on-ones, and then still have to get with OmniViewer and stuff like that. But so far, the only thing I got coming up, heading into the fall, is Pitch Black.
Okay. Anthony Jordan, which I know you got a few things on the back burner, getting ready to kick off soon.
Well, just gearing up for Montober this year, I'm reviewing all the Evil Dead movies. I'm ending it with H2O, and I'm going to do some top 10s. I'm currently working on a list for my 10 favorite horror remakes. I'm just trying to recall other remakes I've seen because I want to see if I can find something to bump Amityville Horror off the list, because even though I like that remake, I don't know if it's a top 10 remake.
Yeah, that'd be kind of tough. I'd have to see if I could ever do that. Tony.
I still have to edit our the Ghouls
Kiss.
of Midnight. I had to do
Yeah.
that. We reviewed The Kiss. And I didn't do my unboxing last night, but eventually sometime this week. And I wish I could do it in the weekend, but everybody's here, but like maybe next Wednesday won't. I don't even know when, but like I gotta do a Vinegar Syndrome unboxing. So other than that, that's pretty much it.
Big Bad Wolf, I know you do a lot of gaming. What do you got planned? I know you just said you went back to school, college.
Yes. So this weekend, I'll probably edit 2 Dead by Daylight gameplays I did from the temporary 2v8 mode that they did a couple of weeks ago. And
did you like that?
Oh yeah, I did. I thought it made the game so much better.
Yeah,
because it was like no one had any advantage. It was like you picked the killer, or you picked the killer, and the killer only had its perks. Whereas you could pick a survivor, and the survivor has different classes you can choose with its perks. So I'm like, I like that because there wasn't really any advantage or disadvantage, and plus survivors weren't given any tools. Right. It was like you had to find them in the chest. But I liked it because as a survivor, it made it more horrifying and fun because if you were smart, you could pick the right people to juke and just troll the killer. Whereas as the killer, let's just say I play a mean trapper.
So are you streaming those this weekend?
No, what I'll be doing is I'll be getting some recorded gameplay I did, and I'll be editing them. So I'll do one for this week, then I'll edit one for the next week because I plan to go home on Friday for Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
Cool.
For the Metal Tavern Radio, tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, or it'll be around 2 or 3 when I get it done and recorded. Kevin Labbit and I for Cinematic Synergy reviewing the movie Billy Jack from 1970. And then next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, you'll see, of course, later on in the afternoon, Mr. Tony and I doing a movie called The Curve from the 90s for the Ghouls of Midnight. I think it's episode 4. Is that 4 for us?
4?
Or
yep.
3, yeah, 4. Mm-hmm. And then Thursday, I get my first shot at collaborating with the professor, Daniel Miller, as we review AVP Requiem. And that's going to be
a fun one.
Your favorite
get your night vision goggles on so you can see our video. I'm going to go totally black.
I will also say this. My videos come out every Tuesday at 4.
Okay. Good deal. It's good to know.
But I'm also looking forward to that stream because I think you and I are on the same wavelength when it comes to AVP Requiem. There's some enjoyment, but there are definitely some issues that could have been patched up before the film.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's got some issues.
We all know it's Anubis's favorite, Alien versus Predator movie. So we all know.
Well, I mean,
unless a new one comes out,
it's only 2, right? So it's just 2. So yeah,
unless a new one comes out because the director of Romulus is game to make another one, and he wants the director of Prey to co-direct it with him.
I just can't wait to hear what the professor is gonna break down on that freaking movie, bro.
I'll get my corncob pipe ready for the professor.
He'll probably have me so triggered I'll be doing this the whole time.
No, just get your night vision goggles. Say, sorry, professor, I didn't see that. Could you say it again?
Yeah. So yeah, thanks guys for joining me tonight. Definitely hang around after I lock off this stuff, and then we'll say our goodbyes. But
thanks for having
for those in the chat, man, thank you for joining us tonight and checking this out. Hit the like button, subscribe. Definitely go check out him and the guy behind him, and then this guy below who I love to death, but is a pain in my ass. And then of course
he loves to hate him
over there. Yeah. So we got the pointers all going, and I got Eric. Thank you very much again, guys. It's been a blast. I appreciate you taking the time out and hanging out and talking. One of my favorites.
This is fun. Tony, what the heck are you licking?
Oh yeah,
I wasn't really licking it.
Oh,
I got some for it to lick.